Hi, hello, namaste to all my listeners. I'm your host, Sarthak Varshne, and I welcome you all to the Balls of Steel show, where you get an insight into the business mindset of the entrepreneurs. Dhandoni Soch. Our today's guest is Mr. Manvir Singh Anand. Hi, Manvir.
Hi, how's it going, Sarthak? How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. How are you?
Very well, very well. Thanks for having me over, bro. Thanks. Yeah.
Same, same. Thank you so much for coming in. So, Manvi, let's start this podcast and let's dive into your journey directly.
Mm.
So, the first thing that we always ask, okay, that what is the business that you're doing because of which we're gonna say that you've got the balls of steel.
Fantastic. But I just love the name, Balls of Steel. That's very interesting indeed, right? So,
Thank you.
hi guys. Just for the people listening, and I'm Manvir Singh Anand, and I run a company called Knight Gourmet Services. We essentially are a pan-India presence hospitality solutions company, and we essentially I don't know whether you've heard of the IPL, ISLs, Pro Kabaddi, Premier Badminton League, IFA awards. So we do the end-to-end event hospitality management for events like these, and we have three offices, one in Delhi, Mumbai, and Chennai. Otherwise, we have a satellite presence across 11 states, 30 cities. So we've served over 1.35 million people as on date. And most importantly, right now we guys, are one of the largest companies in terms of the event hospitality space. Event hospitality space broadly. Otherwise, we run a couple of cloud kitchen brands and F&B ancillary brands, which are again in Delhi and Chennai pretty much. And that's pretty much about what is it that we do. Yeah. Cheers.
That's not pretty much, I would say.
Yeah.
That's quite a lot looking at the brands and names. And yes, we all have heard all those names, so no one can say that we wouldn't have heard of them. So that's really really some great work you're doing out there, I must say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great, kudos, yeah, kudos. Nice. So, Manvi,
Yeah.
I wanna jump in and start from the point where you started your this journey and tell us everything in detail till the point you're standing right now.
So, like I said, to give you a brief background, earlier, so I've essentially been a product of Delhi Public School, RK and in that school, that's basically called like a factory of students, because we used to have your sections up to eight going down till say Z for that matter, and then A1, A2, A3, A4, and so on and so forth. So
Right.
I come from that school essentially, but didn't happen to leverage that much. Happened to shift over. Did my non-medical with economics there. I had science with economics essentially, and I happened
Mm-hmm.
to didn't do as well as expected in sciences. So I happened to shift over to Delhi University, did my economics honors, and started working
Mm-hmm.
with a risk management consulting called Productivity Consulting, where I used to basically consult Fortune 500 companies with respect to their processes, with respect to SOP consulting, risk advisory, and so on and so forth. A lot of internal audit, and that's how I started my career doing that for approximately 2.5 years of my starting. Happened to shift during the movement, which my company was having to KPMG advisory, and that is the moment I thought this is the right opportunity for me to try something, because one of the best things which you have while starting out early is that you don't have much to lose, right? So
Right.
I had that thing in my mind, and I thought, and I still don't know what was in my mind when I was dropping in my resignation letter, and I keep wondering that until today. But I hopefully, I think God has been kind that way. But I happen to, put in my papers, and yeah, the next I know is that I happen to start a midnight delivery service called Night Bites. That was along with two more co-founders. One was into digital marketing, and one was into architecture, and I was basically doing my risk management consulting work, and I was the only
Mm-hmm.
one who happened to quit my job, and I got into it full time because I
Mm-hmm.
saw good leverage and something I could really align my skill set with. So yeah, I mean that is what we were doing. We were able to in Night Bites. We were able to scale it up to. So we were the first ones in the city to start that. After that, there were multiple other brands like I believe Batman delivers and multiple other brands which mushroomed up after that. But I think being the first mover advantage, we really got a good traction. We were able to scale up to three outlets in Janakpuri, Vasant and then North Campus, and we were doing close to around 200 250 orders a night, which was really good at a point at that point when I'm talking about 8 years back, which
Mm-hmm.
helped us get a good strategic investor who wanted to buy us out. At that particular point in time, and we were having our own frictions between young founders, what people typically have, because I was the only one full time into the business. So we thought
Right.
might as well sell this out and try and start afresh. So yeah, I mean, got a good 2.5x return on investment of what we had started
Mm-hmm.
out with. And that is when I mean, I was again back to I mean, back to being in the sole entrepreneur life, where in which you're still contemplating what is it that you want to do. And one of the good things about Night Bites was that I was able to build build a catering business, from that kitchen, because I really found that gap in the market where in which people needed those bulk meal solutions and so on and so forth. So I thought, if an
Mm-hmm.
industry has given me the kind of leverage what my job at a risk consulting would have could not give me, and I was liking what I was doing, might as well build more capability into the same. That is when I enrolled for a
Mm-hmm.
culinary program in India and London, and I happened to learn the basics of French cuisine, do a little bit of Indian cuisine, and happened to train at a hotel in New Delhi. And soon enough, I knew that Night Gourmet was formed. That's, I believe, around 6 years back is when we happened to start Night Gourmet. And the idea was very simple. We knew the market, we understood the market. It was just that always an entrepreneur feels that I mean, when you have the right mindset, you need to couple that with the right skill set. And that is what was really important for me at that particular point in time, where in which I thought that because I was aligned with the thought process of really hustling day in day out with respect to my sales and so on and so forth. I think if I was able to learn about F&B in detail, I could have really built up a valuable business. So yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's how Night Gourmet was formed. And the irony is, I mean, I'll just tell you about the book also I've been writing. Is that
Right.
it was only after doing that course I realized that sometimes it's always about the mindset and not about the skill set per se, because skill set you learn on the job. Because after my culinary program, I realized that even though I was trying to be a chef, while you're
Right.
running a business does not need a professional qualification. You can be a business by learning, by evaluating, by being out there, and I mean, actually putting in the effort vis-a-vis, just learning the theoretical aspects. Because I mean, again, it's all about how you can execute things on the ground. It has nothing got to do with with the theory you learn. So yeah, I mean, that is when I realized, I mean, that you don't have to be a chef or a hotel management student to be in the F&B business, which I always used to have that dilemma within me when I was running Night Bites,
Mm-hmm.
that I need to go and get a professional qualification. So yeah, that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
best learnings I would like to share with you. And yeah, so it's been like 6 years I've been running it, and the story moves on. Yeah.
That's a pretty nice story, and you told it in a very concise manner. But we don't do concise. We go very deep into the story.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I can really delve further into any specific points you have pertaining to, like, so
Right.
I would break this down into three aspects. One is
Mm-hmm.
basically the process of quitting my job. Second was when I was starting Night Bites, to the moment we were selling it out, to the moment I did my culinary program, where in which uh, I was really contemplating, because that's, like I said, I meet a lot of technology oriented businesses, who really, and a lot of startup owners right now, who are contemplating whether they should be learning coding, coding, or,
Mm-hmm.
or other technical skills. But it's something which this fantastic, I would say motivational speaker, or probably like a startup mentor called Dan Pina. He says this beautiful thing
Mm.
that sometimes, it's not advised to do everything yourself, right? I mean,
Right.
if I knew that Einstein, had to revisit a process, say, a million times, I would have hired an engineer from MIT to do it for me, right? So
Right.
that's
Right.
the whole logic, that just don't try to do everything yourself, and try and hire the experts in that particular domain. When you know that your skill set is more aligned with building a business, then just focus on those fundamentals rather than trying to get into the technical nitty gritty, because that will not take you anywhere, as of now, or it's like a long drawn process. So, like I said, that's the
Right.
third phase third phase of really evaluating and contemplating as to what is it that we are doing, and what we were doing at that time, and what was I wanting to do. Because let me tell you one thing,
Mm-hmm.
that once you happen to sell a company, which a lot of people don't tell you really, is that they don't know what
Mm-hmm.
to do next. And if you see that with a lot of startup founders, who've been able to build very very successful companies. I'm talking about, I'm someone with $1 billion exit also, that they
Right. Oh.
really, really face. I mean, the perfect example can be Sachin Bansal, who's still, I think, figuring out and investing into multiple startups, because it's very difficult to find what is the next big thing to do, right? And in my case,
Right.
I was really, really confused whether I should be exploring a different domain, or whether I should stick to the same domain. So I think it really paid off being in that domain. And then the fourth facet, what I was telling you, was really building Night Gourmet into what it is today. Because one of the facets is that we were able to build a very asset light and a scalable business, in a very conventional industry. So when people talk about a catering industry, they typically associate you with like your wedding caterers, or your halwais, and
Right.
your
Right.
dastarkhan, and so on and so forth. But
Right.
on the contrary, I mean, for us, what we were able to build was something very different. In fact, today we're competing with some of the largest, I would say, IP, I mean, public listed, I mean, hospitality firms, and that's been only because of the fact that we didn't approach it like a typical hotel management, or a hotelier background, person. Because they look at everything from the process of a protocol or a process. And the benefit you have of coming from a different industry is that you see it's the same way, right? You can see the glass half full, or half empty. So I always
Right.
found that to be half full, and I was always
Mm-hmm.
looking out for the right opportunities, or the niche to get into.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because you mentioned about that, so I would say one of the niche we were able to build, during when I was building Night Gourmet, was that I didn't really know, as to who can be my target audience, right? And that's when I was going in the first 6 months of starting Night Gourmet. I was still really figuring it out, who can be my actual target audience in terms of really building a good and tangible business. And I think 6 months is a good time. 6 months to 1 year is a good time for you to really delve into multiple industries, and see what makes sense to you. So to a lot of people in the corporate industry, corporate events makes a lot of sense. Or say corporate catering makes a lot of sense, which is like a daily
Mm-hmm.
meals and so on and so forth. And to me, on the contrary, I picked up a niche called the MUNs, which is called the Model United Nations conferences, which used to happen out of schools and colleges. That was something
Right.
which was really well known at that time. And my only, because I was just fresh out of college, in like three, what I mean, out of, say, after like 3 to 4 years, I still
Mm-hmm.
could understand that is the only opportunity which I could have leveraged. And let me tell you, once I was able to focus, it's that, while I say this, I would also like to reiterate on a concept called the Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 rule. That
Right.
80% of the effort, if you put on 20% of the clients, you can really build
Mm-hmm.
a good tangible segment. So in a span of
Mm-hmm.
say 2.5 years, we were able to cater for approximately 75 schools, over 60 colleges, and 30 private universities, which in itself was a big achievement for us, because we were just trying to figure out our market, right? And
Right.
and in that process, by just figuring out a market or a niche of say school or university catering, we were able to do around 200 plus events, which
Mm-hmm.
I think is a sizable number for any caterer to do. Just to put it in context,
Right.
a typical caterer does close to around 60 to 70 events in a year. You understand? So we were
Right.
doing say around 200 events in the first year, or as I would say, first 1.5 year of our business. That was something which was a great validation for us. And that is
Right.
what I'm trying to say, that maybe it was not very profitable at that particular point in time, but we were making well above the normal industry standards, because the way we used to approach F&B was very different from how a caterer would be seeing it, a typical conventional caterer. We always used to think of it from the perspective of an opportunity, that agar hum, for example, if you're working with a client, so I'll give you an example of I'll give you an example of something called the GD Goenka model MUN, or a heritage school
Mm-hmm.
model MUN, right? Now,
Right.
now they were like very, I would say, very demanding immunes of sorts. But
Right.
because of them, sometimes once you start working with good marquee schools, you get access to say 20 other schools via a signaling theory, that if a decent college school or college is getting you on board, you end up working with say 20 more clients in the same domain, right? So
Right.
that became a big industry for us, and we were, like I said, we were able to really scale. I think the first 2 years of my company revenue was all attributed to this kind of a segment, because like I said, I we found great leverage and great opportunity there to learn the business also. Because I mean, something you need to also understand is that these businesses like construction, like event
Mm-hmm.
management, like in fact photography, in a large case, what you do, or I would say catering in my business, these are all businesses which are typically businesses to be learned. I always,
Right.
something I learned from my previous company, which was Protivity, was that they always call consulting a practice. They never call consulting a service. Like typically everyone calls consulting services, but they always
Right.
call it a practice, because you whenever you do consulting engagements or catering engagements or photography engagements, you are learning on the
Right.
job, right? And you're bettering the
Right.
craft every time. You cannot say that you perfected the skill, right? So that this was a
Right.
beautiful learning I had taken back from my productivity days, in which I learned that whatever craft you putting your effort on, that is more like a practice. So I always call, within my team, catering, I mean, as part of a catering practice, or these are the kind of services we offer. You understand? Because that
Mm-hmm.
that
Right.
that
Right.
gives a very different approach to the consumer also. That the approach they have is very different versus a typical
Mm-hmm.
caterer. And in the first 2 years
Right.
of the business, because you are also learning the trades, you need more engagements. I think
Right.
one of the dark aspects about entrepreneurship, which a lot of I would say startup gurus, so called, don't really discuss, is that it's not a lot of hard work. When to start a business, problem is to find and execute business. A lot of
Right.
people, at least I can vouch for, in the events, construction, or in the catering business or the F&B business, is that the initial days are not dreaded by I would say excess business, but it's more or less driven by lack of business, which in itself is one of the most therapeutic and the most frustrating times an entrepreneur can have in his life. I mean, if you're able
Right.
to sustain that for the first 2 years of your career, I think you'll become so thick skinned that you will not even think about getting back ever. but those first 2 years can be so frustrating that it's not even funny. And that's where I would say that we were very lucky that we really focused on a segment, foregoing the great margins what other businesses were offering. So we had the
Hmm.
opportunity of exploring like any other person, like we could have tried to get into, say the wedding catering side of things or the social catering side of things, but we understood our skill set. So here's where another
Hmm.
aspect comes in, is to understand your skill set. Now for me, I've been coming from a consulting background. For me it became very difficult कि मैं जाके I tell your father or anyone's father कि आपकी बेटी की शादी है, उसकी शादी को बहुत अच्छा करेंगे, and this that, there's a skill set
Hmm.
a person has in terms of his dialect and
Hmm.
his communication, right? And
Right.
I really knew the knack of B2B sales, or I would say corporate sales, which really worked for me at that particular point in time. So
Hmm.
on the same lines, you really need to evaluate and then build your niche. So coming back, 2 years did this part of the business, which was basically doing a lot of your MUNs, a lot of schools and colleges catering, which a lot of people underestimate. But I think that's been a fantastic source of business for us. Uh, so business and learning for us. and
Right.
and
Right.
and soon
Right.
enough, I mean, I would say that while you were executing multiple things, you get a turning point in your life. And that is where I got one turning point at Night Gourmet, which was basically when a budding event manager colleague happened to reach out to me to cater for one of the football leagues, pan India scale, football league, for which was happening in Delhi, and for which they didn't have a suitable catering partner to come on board. And let me tell you, if
Right.
you've done school catering, stadium catering is an absolute different ball game. They are very two different segments. You can't really compare both of them. And for
Hmm.
me, sometimes, like it's rightly said, that is sometimes better to be naive than be very concerned or very serious about your capability, because had we not taken up that opportunity, because when I was starting my business, I used to say yes to everything I would understand. Like when it comes to corporate
Hmm.
sales, or I would say, these kind of events, I used to say yes to everything because I had that understanding that probably, this is the kind of event I can do. So I said a yes for it, but
Hmm.
let's be very honest, I was not equipped to do stadium catering at that particular point in time. So
Hmm.
we got the first mandate of executing something called I mean, I would not want to name the franchisee, but we happen to cater for them for a league, for the sports league, which became a roaring
Right.
success. There were like 7 matches,
Right.
2,000 packs per day, and we were catering for, say, someone as senior as Roberto Carlos for that,
Wow.
and
Hmm.
and I mean, and let me tell you how the stadium catering is different is because, so in a college or a school catering, you typically happen to place a buffet or a service counter at one dedicated space. But in a stadium, what
Hmm.
happens is there's a VIP lounge, there's a marquee lounge, there's a media lounge, there's a press conference room, then there's a corporate box. There are multiple, so there are 8 to 10 rooms you have to cater for, which in
Hmm.
itself was a massive challenge. Like I said, and this is like a very important excerpt I would like to share, that you have to be in
Right.
business for longer time to get business. You know what I mean? Wherein which, uh,
Definitely.
if you are lost in like in like 1.5 year, nobody remembers you, right? But
Uh,
the very fact and the validation of you doing business is the fact that you are in business. You understand?
I definitely
Say
do.
the very fact we are still in business since last 7 years is the vindication or the validation that we are in business right now,
Business.
and we've not
Right.
disappeared in the air, right? And that is what a
Right.
lot of startup guys don't really no, not startup guys, I would say, because startup is a very different ball game. I'm talking to you purely from a bootstrap startup perspective. I would get onto
Hmm.
the BC and the PE side of businesses later on, but I'm just giving you a
Hmm.
perspective because you need to understand this side of the business to really get into the PVC game, because these are
Hmm.
they're two very different gamuts. I mean, even though they're on the same parallel, but like I said,
Right.
when people get excited about the $1 million and the $2 million, it's a very different ball game in terms of selling there. It is not typically a business which you run there. That's where you own a job, because they're two different skill sets. Coming back, like I said, if you are in a business for a longer time, you really get noticed, and you get the kind of opportunities you get, and that is from where we got, so like I said, from this opportunity of the cement manager reaching out to me for the sports league, we were able to
Mm-hmm.
build a practice which was purely dedicated around sports leagues. So from there I got
Mm-hmm.
the access to doing IPL. So Delhi Devils was what was the league that time,
Mm-hmm.
which is now converted into Delhi Capitals. So they were very kind enough to
Right.
send me opportunities. It's a very funny thing I would like to share with you, that
Yes.
the first order I had executed for Delhi Daredevils was basically a refreshment box comprising of a sandwich, a juice, a muffin, and a Tetra pack of juice.
Right.
Around what I think 5.5, 6 years back. That was the only thing
Uh-huh.
that I had delivered to them. There was around 80 boxes. From that to getting
Uh-huh.
me access to a platform like an IPL was a very different experience altogether. And like I said, something which a lot of people underestimate is the power of executing smaller mandates.
Right.
I mean, you are in the events business slightly. You'll understand कि छोटे काम से बड़े
Right.
काम मिलते हैं, which a lot of people don't really understand, that if you
Right.
don't do the menial shit jobs, you will never get the cream irrespective, because the client
Right.
understands. You have to prove your metal at these smaller opportunities, and that's specifically something I would like to highlight, that if you are not able to value these kind of opportunities which come to you,
Mm-hmm.
you're really in a mindset gap more than a skill set gap, because the point is, like I said, in initial days, whatever is coming to you, you have to execute that. So like I said, so since then we got the opportunity of doing ISL, then we did IPL, then we did, then we got an opportunity of doing Pro Kabaddi League. We did like, so, first year we did, and this I'm talking about to you in 2015, 16, I believe, where where in which we got the opportunity in Pro Kabaddi, we got the opportunity of doing, say, only one city at that particular point in time, which was
Uh-huh.
which was Delhi Damang KC, and
Right.
then I mean, the list goes on, in terms of the kind of leagues we've done and so on and so forth. So this was the first part of it, that how we transitioned from being a pure play, I would not say low budget, but I would say affordable catering solutions provider, to being in the space of doing your large format leagues, and the glamorous side of things, which by all means is not glamorous. It's a lot of hard work and a lot of effort irrespective. And that is when we happen to shift on to executing, and getting into the second part of our business, which was, when we came to an understanding that yes, we have catered for all these leagues, but still as a business, and
Mm-hmm.
now is when we've shifted from the schools and college events to, say, corporate events as an industry to work on, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or I would say not corporate, but I would say the sports leagues events. So that is when we were realizing कि यार हमने we have built this infrastructure right now, and we are doing all this work, that is fine, but and the irony was that even though our turnover, our profitability was increasing on a year-on-year basis, we were not being able to
Mm-hmm.
increase our turnover that way. And that was also because of the fact that we were very conscious in terms of the kind of clients we were working with. So we didn't want to work with anyone and everyone. There's great benefit you get when a client can relate you having a certain segment. So from the schools we started shifting towards all these corporate sports events, which made a positioning that they're basically a catering company, which can cater primarily for sports leagues. And from there,
Mm-hmm.
we decided that if we are not being able to grow our business within Delhi, I think it's high time we start scaling up. and the best
Mm-hmm.
and the best opportunity we got was the first one at at an event called, at a franchisee called UP Yodha, which was a
Okay.
sister arm of Delhi Daredevils. So they were very
Okay.
kind enough in giving me the first opportunity at in Lucknow, where in which I had that first experience of how do you take a staff outside of Delhi, how do you build a temporary kitchen, how do you execute mandates with utmost finesse, the way you do it in Delhi, but I mean, I would say relying on third party vendors with whom you don't have comfort of yours, right? So that was
Right.
my first experience. Then second experience I happened to get at doing this massive league called Pro Premier Badminton League, which was done at a far-fetched location at Guwahati. Which
Okay.
again, by the wildest dreams, also no caterer can even expect a Delhi caterer to come and do it out of a Guwahati. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when, I mean, we again, we took on the onus upon us, because we, like I said, we were so much engrossed and so much, I would say, passionate about building this business, that we really didn't think about the fact कि business कहाँ से आ रहा है, कहाँ पे बुला रहा है. हमने कहा that,
Hmm.
the process is very simple. Catering is about three things. It is about A, the food, B, the crockery and the setup, and C, the service. So we realized
Hmm.
that food has to be controlled by us, for which we'll take our chef from Delhi, and rest all we'll procure locally. Then B is
Right.
about crockery and the infrastructure. So we happen to partner with a crockery services supplier there. I had sent one of our managers there to really get the entire base and the entire working set. And the third is
Okay.
the service, which typically we had taken like two, three captains from Delhi, and then the entire
Mm-hmm.
staff we had taken locally. So that was basically the inception of we trying to really become a pan India, event hospitality solutions provider. In fact, that it'll be very interesting for you to know that
Right.
where I refrain from using the word catering a lot of times, and I use the word event hospitality, and
Mm-hmm.
that is because of the fact that we never see ourselves as a conventional caterer, and that's how we do the positioning. That was and
Mm-hmm.
this had transpired from my conversation with the Delhi Devils a long time back, wherein which they had a competitor who's a large, soon to be an IPO company, who used to do catering for them. And the benefit they used to offer Delhi Devils was that they didn't used to only do, say, the VIP lounges. They also used to do the crew meals, and they used to manage the entire food court. So imagine doing an
Right.
IPL with an entire food court, which is approximately seven to around 50,000 spectators. So from there,
Right.
we happen to get our access into the food court business, which in itself
Okay.
was a large business and a large chunk of the pie which we never looked into. And like I said,
Mm-hmm.
that's a very different, you know the different skill set a company needs to build in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
From there we happen to really delve into the business of event hospitality, wherein which we were not only doing the VIP lounges for the client, we were also doing the crew meals, and we were doing the food courts for them, and the food courts were
Okay.
done in a manner that these were only event food courts, temporary food courts, via which we had partnered with say pan India brands like a Domino's, a Fasos, a CCD, and so on and so forth,
Ha
and
ha ha ha.
mandates. And like I said, this gave the client a one-stop solution for all their hospitality requirements at an event. Thus
Ha.
comes the term event hospitality solution provider rather than a catering solutions provider, because we expanded the service horizon. So, like I said, in this part, I have told you about two aspects. One has been the aspect of being able to scale the company from just a Delhi based operation to something which can cater to a Guwahati. From Guwahati we got the opportunity of doing Delhi for them, and then from Delhi they gave us the opportunity of getting into Chennai for them. So that was great validation
Mm-hmm.
for us to building building a national company. And the second is that we changed our service portfolio from just being a catering solutions provider, which somewhere a client has multiple options for. You like it, you don't like it. Every city has over 1 lakh caterers. So for you
Definitely.
to be called from say a Delhi to execute an event out of say even in a place like Guwahati or a Chennai or a Hyderabad or a Mumbai, that is a major mental blockade you need to break for the event manager or the client, and also tell them the benefit. And that is where I would just tell you that two things are very important. Is one is the creative mindset of thinking that the way that how can this be done. Had I been thinking about the fact that दिल्ली में तो काम कर रहे हैं, दिल्ली के बाहर कैसे काम करेंगे, uh, versus
Uh-huh.
trying to just say yes to a mandate and just thinking कि यार जो भी होगा जाके देख लेंगे, सीख लेंगे. I mean, the one thing you need to know about you is that in a business, you, and especially a B2B business, you cannot disappoint your client. And that level of integrity you need to maintain with your client. If you're not maintaining that, you're not supposed to be in this business, first of all. So one is that,
Right. Mm-hmm.
keeping these two facets. Second is that
Mm.
keep innovating on the kind of products you're offering, because important thing was that we had the opportunity, like there's this often a saying called the power of focus. That you focus on one
Mm.
service and you really kill it. But sometimes what happens is,
Right.
when you're in a B2B business, to understand, you don't need something I was mentioning as part of my book also. I will come into that later on. But I have written
Right.
an excerpt in my book that you
Mm-hmm.
don't need you don't need 10 clients to be in business. You need one client
Mm-hmm.
who does 10 events to be in business. You understand? You have a running
Right.
business ready,
Right.
right? So when you have those, when you have a client who has 10 events coming in a year, you know that you have to be part of them and you have to provide him every single solution, because it's more cost effective
Mm.
to retain a customer rather than finding a new customer. You know,
Right.
so
Right. Right.
if a person keeps these two elements about creative thinking and about innovating their product portfolio as per the client's requirement, it really helps. I would never recommend this in a B2C or a retail business, because that's a different gamut. But a B2B business is purely about your relationship. And if you can't capitalize on your relationships served over last 6 years, I think you really need to change your strategy or need to change the business you're in right now. So yeah, so like I said, that was the part wherein which I told you about where how we happen to shift from say a single operation to a national operation, and I happen to change up our service portfolio. That is when we first we face another challenge, एंड द चैलेंज
Right.
इज अ डिफरेंट चैलेंज कि
Mm-hmm.
आपने आपने चलो आपने कहने के लिए आपने एक प्रीमियर बैडमिंटन लीग के लिए आपने 4 सिटीज कर दी. ठीक है, आपने प्रो
Mm.
कबड्डी के लिए 3 सिटीज कर दी. प्रॉब्लम फिर दूसरी आती है दैट how do you give the client a benefit, or how do you grow your
Mm-hmm.
company further. It's all stages, right? Stages. One is when you
Right.
start,
Right.
when you're finding business, and the first step is to find whatever you can get your hands on. Second is to
Mm-hmm.
target. Third is to basically grow that business. Like I said, your profitability might increase because you're learning the business, but your turnovers don't increase. So you need to open
Right.
geographies. But when you open geographies, you understand that while it might seem very easy to operate out of Delhi and seem very profitable कि Delhi से मैं सारा event कर लूंगा and it will not really impact, you need to understand that after a point your client needs to be given comfort that you have a local office. And that is where we built a second office out of Chennai, where in which we happen to
Okay.
partner with a with a bakery, and we set up
Uh-huh.
an entire hot kitchen in that bakery, where in which we told them that, boss, I mean, I don't have the physical bandwidth right now of coming down every now and then. You give me the support,
Uh-huh.
I will invest the capital and expenditure in this, and that is at no cost to you. You're free to use whatever capacity you're doing, or you want to use my assets in whatever possible manner. But I want to keep it with you
Uh-huh.
because I trust you, and
Uh-huh.
and that's how, I mean, we were able to establish our Chennai office, which was on a very ad hoc
Okay.
basis. That is when I
Okay.
realized the power of local presence. Now, local presence is something which cannot beat anything in this world, because the the way our inquiries are started shooting up in our Chennai office, I was compelled, but I had no other option than to travel every 2 months to Chennai, because we used to have that, you have that premium, I would say,
Ha ha
you're
ha.
a North Indian F&B services provider working out of a South Indian geography, and that's something
Ha
I've
ha.
witnessed across Kochi, I've witnessed across Hyderabad and Bangalore and so on and so forth. So from there, when we got that when we got that leverage, we were
Hmm.
executing events day in day out. From there, we had got the rights of doing a lot of events out of the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, which is one of the largest stadiums in Chennai.
Right.
Then we were able to open our arms to Bangalore, to Hyderabad very easily, and the entire team. So we built a very lean team of say 4 people in Chennai, and we told them, भाई
Hmm.
जैसे भी है, तुमने ये काम खींचना है, और I will
Hmm.
be picking up the business. You need to execute that irrespective. And point is only one.
Right.
My focus will be only on developing business. I will be coming only on the event days. You understand? So
Right. Right.
if the event is supposed to happen, so we got a conference with a company called Exceed in between, wherein which
Ha ha ha.
we had like what around 4,000 teachers to be served, and the work was only one day. Typically, my leagues are like around 8 to 10 days, 8 to 10 day kind of mandates. Or I'll give you
Ha
an
ha ha.
example. There's a company called Percept. So with Percept,
Okay.
we used to do we used to do all the movie launches, like
Okay.
in Chennai, in the Chennai segment. The
Ha ha.
power of Tamil cinema is huge, and I'm
Huge.
very
That is
happy and
huge.
proud to share that we got the opportunity of serving the Thalaiva Rajnikant for his movie.
Okay.
I'm forgetting the movie's name. It was called.
Darbar, the recent film
Yeah, the recent movie, which he did, that was
with Sunil
Peta,
Shetty. That was Darbar.
Peta. No, no, not that one.
Okay. Okay.
That
Pita.
was
Pita. Okay.
Peta.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
that was the largest movie launch, and it was, we got the mandate through Percept and Sun TV Group, which is one of the largest groups there,
Mm-hmm.
and that again, got us a mandate for another movie called Bigil, which is again,
Okay.
done by one of the leading superstars of Chennai, which is, again, I need to just check on the name of the person, but he was
No worries. No
sorry,
worries.
Superstar Vijay. I'm so sorry. So
Right.
so like I said, I was never aware about these opportunities. Could have actually been could have actually come to us. Had I been thinking
Right.
about only sticking to one industry, and being in one location and servicing everyone from Delhi. Sometimes your local
Right.
office generates more inquiries than what you can
More inquiries.
anticipate your skill set to do. And like I said,
Uh-huh.
rest is history. So our Chennai office does, I would say, 35% of our entire business. That is when I happen to shift my focus to Mumbai. Our Mumbai office has been relatively lean. It has only 2 people there right now. And in fact, right now, due to
Mhm.
the COVID times, I don't know what's going to happen. But like I said, the Mumbai office, got us the events for, got us the mandate for doing IFA awards, which was something I had not even
Okay.
imagined in my wildest dreams to to do. So like I said, it's been all very organic, not something we had really planned for. But I think, and it's a very interesting story. I'll tell you about how we got IFA also. That the
हाँ जी.
company Viscraft, who organizes IFA, they
Ada.
basically had a small event. They had a small event for an Amazon Prime series called Family Man, which was for Manoj
हाँ जी.
Bajpayee, right? So
Right.
they
Right.
had a
Right.
very simple requirement of basically being given some boxes for all the people coming for the Amazon Prime screening. Now, we
Mhm.
never said no to them, and like I said, we were looking out for business, and we didn't say no to them for a small requirement, because they needed like what, around 100 odd boxes, essentially, and it was still an issue for us, because we were still setting up our Mumbai office. I was looking for the right place. which was affordable, especially in Mumbai context, because Mumbai generally is very expensive. So I was,
Right, right.
but still, nevertheless, I said yes, we'll do it, and I still remember sitting in Delhi when this order closed. I booked my flights, was there in Mumbai in the next 5 hours, and we just planned the entire scene how we'll do it, and you won't believe, right, 2 days or 2 days after Amazon Prime, this Family Man launch was IFA Awards, and they were still figuring out the vendors, for to really get on board and execute it for them, and that's how we were able to crack that, and that again led to another
Wow.
opportunity for Amazon Prime and so on and so forth. So like I said, sometimes you never know. जैसे the first thing I said, छोटे काम से बड़े काम मिलते हैं. This thought process is very important for anyone, at least in the B2B segment, because it's very important to build that relationship with your client, to at least have a sense a sense of who you are, what you do, and what is your scale like. So a client will never ask you when he's giving you a 100 box order that what is your scale. He will only ask you that once you're able to deliver his small requirement, and then you happen to get a face to face time with him to tell him that,
Right.
while I've done this order for you out of sheer respect, and thank you for your business, but besides that, these are the 10 kinds of services I do, and do consider us for any opportunity. And you won't believe the power of just uh,
Asking?
not asking is one, I would say, of execution. Even if you've done a
Right.
small order of 100 boxes, imagine getting a
Mm-hmm.
35 lakh rupee project from that. That's a very, very, very different economics altogether. You understand? And
Right,
the client
right,
just,
right.
so there's a lot of difference, something which I keep discussing, and a lot of people in the B2B space keep asking me that,
हाँ जी.
in the B2B space, it's really important and it's really valued, to really bullshit a lot, right? The value of bullshitting is considered
Mm-hmm.
to be too much, that, you go to an office, you give these beautiful presentations. My point is, the presentations is of no use provided you can't deliver on
Execute.
site. You can't deliver
Right.
on site. I mean, if I've given you 100 boxes order and you couldn't execute that, and the feedback was shit, don't even think of getting a business. No matter you would be serving Prime Minister Modi, or a Amit Shah
Mm.
for that matter, the client will never trust
Right,
you. So like I said, smaller mandates, don't underestimate the power of smaller mandates, and execute whatever comes your way, at least in the newer cities. And like I said, so rest is all history, wherein which we from Chennai we happened to move to Mumbai, and now Mumbai was something we were really scaling up. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's pretty much how I would like to break my story at Night Gourmet, which is very, I
Right.
would say, very different. So, if you see, my journey, could be summed up in, say, what, whatever XYZ words, I mean, like, in a very
Mm-hmm.
limited duration. But when it comes to Night Gourmet, it's been an entire life circle or a journey in itself, from just building something from scratch to today, which does a multi-crore turnover or whatever. But
Right.
but saying all of that, I think it is still, it goes back to the same fundamentals which we had built our business on, which was, I mean, keeping the customer first and focusing on the
Right.
relationships. B, being open to innovate a product portfolio in a manner that the client sticks to us. We don't,
Right.
we try and build that kind of comfort with the client, that he does not have to scout for a third RFP to a new vendor. And third
Right.
is to be very, very humble and coordinative, with the client, because, I mean, in a services business, what happens is that you want it, you don't want it, there can be scenarios of screw ups, and of, I mean, pardon, for a lack of a better word, some sort of fuck ups. And what matters
Right.
is how you own up to them, and how you build a mitigation plan against that, vis-a-vis, I mean, just telling them that you can't do it. So this brings me to a very
Mm-hmm.
good example, which we faced for a large event which had Jeff Bezos in presence. the founder of Amazon.
Okay.
So we
Right,
did the
right,
event
right.
in January itself, and the irony
Uh-huh.
was that in that event, that was one of India's largest entrepreneurship events, and we had got this
Right.
this mammoth task of serving around 5,500 participants through a unique food court concept, which I told you right now, right?
Okay.
Now the thing was
Right,
that
right.
five thousand five, I mean, the guarantee we had was around 200, 2,500 packs, but because
Uh-huh.
Jeff Bezos came in, the event turnout went way above 8,500, 9,000 packs, because of which, even though that was great for the event, because the event really became a success and so on and so forth, the
Right.
food court suffered a massive breakdown in terms of the supply and so on and so forth. And at
Uh-huh.
a scenario like this, you have two options. You know, either you can completely fold your hands and say that, boss, we
Right.
can't execute, it's above the minimum guarantee, or
Huh.
we can try and scout for solutions at that particular time. So we did, so like I said, we had built some inventory from outside restaurants. We happened to serve
Uh-huh.
all the participants, because when you're talking about 8,000 people, things can't be made in like 30 minutes. But we
Right.
ensured that we were standing on our foot to ensure that the end consumer, because you need to understand, the event management company and us might be screwed post event, but what about the 8,000
Right.
people who are coming on the event? You can't let them have a poor experience, right? And that is where
Right.
I would say that these are, while all the glamorous stuff is on its side, remember that every business is going to be having some sort of fuck ups, and it's all about how you own up to them and you ensure that the client experience is managed irrespective. And it's an irony
Right.
that the team, the event management associate, the event management, or company, and the main client eventually came up to
Mm-hmm.
us. They understood that there was a genuine spike in the cases, but they were appreciative of the fact that we didn't leave the support when it was needed. Because the easiest thing to
Right.
do at a time like this is to start throwing accusations on each other.
Mm-hmm.
कि भाई तूने नहीं किया,
Right.
मैंने नहीं किया, you didn't keep a count of the number. And that is where I think lies the actual trait of an entrepreneur, how he can be calm and composed in phases of these kind of screw ups. So, like I said, 3 point
Mm-hmm.
agenda is how I would like to sum up my journey at Night Gourmet. Yeah.
Those 3 points are very elaborative now. Now though they are not at all precise,
Yeah. No,
but
you
yes,
want, I
that
can make it precise, irrespective.
no, 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 no. This was really, really good because having such a deep insight into how you've been running your business, how you scaled up from where you started, this is very, very insightful because yeah, see, हर कोई सोचता है and you in during this point आपने इतनी सारी बातें बोल दी which someone goes through and you kind of covered it all like this one thing that you said you need to be in business for a longer time to get the business and this
Hmm.
is very very good fact and
Hmm.
this is utter truth because until unless first of all people need a lot of time to know that you are there to do a business then
Absolutely.
they'll realize okay you are doing such sort of business and
Hmm.
then after some time they'll give you business so
Absolutely.
you've been
Absolutely.
there. Right, you've been there, you sustained that part, and you clearly mentioned that, it
Hmm.
takes about 1.5 to 2 years to set that up.
Hmm.
That was definitely eye-opening, coming very blatantly. That was good. Another thing that from your journey that you told us, I could clearly make out that you are a very, very opportunist person. And you have literally dwelled on all the opportunities that you have got and not let them go off the hands. So that's how, like, probably from what we can learn from your experience as of now, that if even like many times देखो यार business में हम बोलते हैं कि either you go on speciality
Hmm.
or you start grabbing everything in.
Yeah.
But talking to you makes me understand, even if you're trying to grab everything and if you're trying to do multi-folded business in different verticals,
Hmm.
you still need to execute it in the very very right manner so
Hmm.
that the client doesn't go away and your name stands in the market. So
Absolutely.
talking to you has given me that insight in a very very good way.
Sadhu,
And
just one point I want to just add to this.
sure.
Sometimes it is mistaken, and it is felt by a lot of pseudo startup, or technology startups, businesses, that I mean, when a brick and mortar business or a lifestyle business is being
Mm-hmm.
opportunistic, that is basically
Mm-hmm.
offering everything to everyone. Now I will ask you the
Mm-hmm.
same question for someone like a Zomato or someone like a Cult
Mm-hmm.
Fit, doing grocery delivery, or probably Zomato doing like an essentials, then a restaurant dine in. It's all about the fact that eventually it's all about getting numbers in. At the end of
Right.
it, your balance sheet, if it can't show numbers, or your P&L is not showing the numbers you're even talking about, it is not worth it. So you need to understand that this is not from a perspective of any technology startup to a single sole proprietor to a parallel company like us. It is
Right.
applicable for everyone. That, boss, you have to show some numbers at the end of it, and the money coming in is always good. But when during phases like these, I would say the
Right.
COVID times, it's more, I mean, probably, I mean, a lot of people are still wondering what to do. But I think,
Mm-hmm.
we've built a very very good plan. I don't know whether we can replicate the kind of numbers we've been doing, but like I said, it's all about being in business to actually, I mean, signal to the market that we were able to
Right.
get through this. That's the whole thought
Mm-hmm.
behind it. Sorry to cut you in between. Sorry. Yeah.
No, 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 no. It's okay. It's okay. So yeah, and another thing that you said that never say no to small business. So on this point, I would like to add the point where you started and that you've been catering to MUNs and everything.
Hmm.
So I personally know what MUNs are, and somewhere down the history, I've been a part of them. Uh,
Yeah.
So I know it that you have taken that opportunity, and that
Yeah.
really means a lot because during in the early stages of the MU and like probably 5 6 years down the line, they were happening like 4 to 5 conferences a weekend.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is where we can look at the numbers you've been able to generate. And when I try to link that dot with the other dot, that you never know which contact and from where small part you can get a bigger business. The
Absolutely.
very same example your Bombay office showed you.
Yeah.
So because see conferences hai heritage school, GD Goenka school, right? It's clear like the elite crowd is coming there.
Hmm.
And even if one single parent, one single teacher recommends you, you are into business. So when you talk about you don't say no to small jobs, that's a very very insightful, and your journey kind of proves it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So that's very very amazing to see. Yeah.
Just one point. You had mentioned that
Right.
this lead which I got to doing my first sports league, which I was mentioning to you about, this event manager,
Right.
budding event manager.
Hanji, hanji,
You won't believe
hanji.
where I met him. I met him
Right.
at doing an MUN for a college called Shahid Rajguru. You understand? He was
I
doing the
haven't even
overall.
heard the name of that.
Yeah, so Shahid Rajguru is a part of Delhi University, and they were doing an MUN for
Okay.
600 packs. And this guy was doing the
Okay.
overall sound light, and this was part of the entire fest. And this guy had a good enough
Okay.
job. He's my age, I mean, probably, we'll have a lot of common reference points. But
Ha, ha,
imagine
ha.
connecting with that person at that particular event, and he getting me a mandate which was worth 65 lakhs. I could have never imagined. And that's the power of like I always say, being in business. सब कुछ ठीक है,
Right.
चल जाएगा सब कुछ, but you never know, who's looking at you, and who might give you the next best opportunity. Yeah.
Right, right. So this was very detailed, but there's still some questions that I have for you, and which are typically about the mindset and your state of mind, which you would have probably gone through. And I want some insight there because I'm pretty sure because those were the early ages, and definitely I'm kind of younger to you, and there are many entrepreneurs who are starting out and even listening to. So this is going to help them. So there was this point where you said, that there were frictions between you and the co-founders for Night Bites, and उसके बाद then you sold the Night Bites for 2.5 times. So when those frictions came around and that selling happened and for the 2.5 times, and then you went on for Night Gourmet, what was that time like? What was your mindset during that time like? And how did you deal with those frictions? What was it?
Honestly, this is one thing I've always refrained from discussing, but
Okay.
let's do this. I mean, irrespective, I'll try and keep it very 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 concise and to the point. But let me tell you one thing, that
Mhm.
when there are three people, there are bound to be
Mhm.
differences. And it
Right.
also matters about the fact that how do you know these people? A lot of
Hmm.
partnerships are basically built on the single premise of friendship, which is the most stupid
Mhm.
premise of starting a business. You know,
Mhm.
you know, boss. Also, second, you have to understand your personal self. There's a very good self awareness drive. You need to evaluate when you're getting into partnership, because it is about giving someone a 33% or a 50% decision making capability. It's not always about making money, but it's about giving a
Right.
decision making capability. And secondly, asking for the same level of commitment which you're putting in. So at my
Definitely.
particular point in time, I was the only one who quit my job. But I also think
Right.
that I was where I had gone wrong was that I was expecting the business to grow really fast, and I was assuming that others would be doing the
Mhm.
same, which didn't happen,
Mhm.
right? Which and for I would say for valid reasons. There was one person who had a family to manage, and there was one person who was just getting into the employment space and so on and so forth. So I can imagine,
Mhm.
like I said, and that's where, in hindsight, there are no hard feelings, idly of sorts. But what I can say is that was a very harrowing, very emotionally stressful time, because it is an entire, I think it's very unlikely sometimes to hit upon a good and a positive cash flow business. It happens very rarely. And I've been
Mhm.
and I've witnessed this personally, ki when you keep doing a hit and trial, and I'm telling you, seldom it happens कि वो business चलता है. और जब चलता है ना,
Mhm.
when the money starts coming in,
Mhm.
that is when people start going bonkers. And that
Mhm.
is when, that's a different kind of problem, you'll face. And
Mhm.
while we never think about that fact while starting up, because हमारे को भी होता है यार, we get like minded people, at least शुरू तो करें, जो होएगा देखा जाएगा. But and like I said,
Mhm.
that's not a wrong theory. Everyone has their own story to build, be it you, be it me. But in my case,
Mhm.
like I said, we had thought on the same lines that let the business start generating cash flow, and we'll think about it. But I think for some reason, we got, we started having issues, and we thought the best way is to part ways amicably. And we were thinking that, we'll take one, we'll divide one outlet amongst ourselves. But I thought, eventually the longevity of a retail business is basically by the kind of team you can build. And we thought might as well
Mhm.
collectively, just to not have petty fights over small, over, I would say, smaller vision. Might as well
Mhm.
set it out and, take whatever we can and start afresh.
Right.
So like I
Right.
said, I mean, it is not very dramatic. It is very ugly. And if dramatic things are generally good, they give you a learning, but ugly things don't give you any learning. And that is not something I would recommend anyone to go through. But at the same time,
Mhm.
I would also say that through that I understood that you need to understand your type. So, if you think
Right.
you can be in a partnership, and you can build a cohesive understanding with your co-founder, then there's a genuine leverage to you. Or you go by the way startups go, that you find your complementing skills, your skills which you lack, and then you hire a co-founder. You understand? That makes sense. But
Right.
by simply getting into partnerships without really knowing about the other person's skill set, and just he being your friend, can really get you and your business doomed. Had I not started Night
Mhm.
Gourmet, I still consider that my entire experience at Night Bites would have been gone down the drain. And I thank those co-founders to give me that opportunity of starting this business up right now.
Mhm.
Because of which I would have never been in the F&B space irrespective. So there's a lot of mutual admiration for them, but at the same time, those times
Mhm.
were very tough, and would not recommend anyone to
Right.
go through that. Yeah.
Okay. 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 So, Manvi, you told us one thing that once this partnership got ended and you were starting out with the Knight Gourmet, there was this time where you didn't exactly know that what kind of audience you're going to cater to,
Yeah.
right? And you took about 6 months, which is a good amount of time to figure out the audience. So,
Mm.
I don't know if you had business during those 6 months or not, or if you were just actually starting out, but what was your brain going through? What was going in your head? Ki, yaar, what am I doing? Or what is it like? Would I be able to get the business or not? What was exactly going, if you could, enlighten us on that part and how you dealt with that situation?
I'll be very honest about this because this is something which a lot of people need to know, that
Hmm.
first of all, those 6 months I was not just evaluating. This is a sham.
Right.
I was reading this book yesterday, and he was mentioning this beautiful 10x rule by Grant Cardone, wherein which there's this element of massive action, which is needed
Hmm.
in terms of massive activities without without the worry of the results. Is sometimes a good
Hmm.
is a, sometimes a good solution. I would say I was
Hmm.
not putting in massive action, but I was putting in some action. And
Hmm.
the irony of being in the kind of business I was getting into, I also had to understand the fact that my business was supposed to be a weekend business, which is something it took me a long time to understand. It was not that in those
Hmm.
6 months I was just evaluating. I was trying to find whatever business was coming my way. So that could have been your thali services, or that can be your school event or college event, whatever. But I realized that
Right.
those times were only for doing business development and sales. That was the only thing to be done between Monday to Thursday. There was nothing else we could have done,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Through two three
Okay.
kinds of events, we
Hmm.
I mean, when I said two three kinds of events, so once you do a bulk catering supply to an office, to doing a school event, to an XYZ, you start understanding your type. I mean,
Right.
and when you
Right.
understand your type, like, I mean, I really enjoyed that aspect of getting an execution done at 6 a.m. in the morning, going down till 5 a.m.
Hmm.
with the breakfast, lunch, and high tea kind of a setup, being replicated across 3 days. It was great sort of learning for me, and so on and so forth. So क्या हुआ उसमें, in that entire process you start seeing the frequency of events. So frequency of event में मैं आपको
Right.
बताता हूँ schools colleges में क्या होता है, that there are so typically there are like formats. So during the starting of the cycle, there are freshers, then it goes on to your these conferences and doing a lot of these fests, and then the last one, it culminates into doing a lot of farewells. I understood that the freshers and the farewell is
Farewell
not
party.
is not my cup of tea. I don't really enjoy that. I don't really understand that. But MUN is something
Hmm.
which is scalable, which is something which was getting
Hmm.
massive traction, and I was getting access to the
Right.
right set of people because I
Right.
myself, was able to understand that segment really well. Because I mean, during my college, I also used to see a lot of these activities happening and so on and so forth. I've been an MUN
Hmm.
myself, so
Okay.
I thought कि यार ये एक opportunity ऐसी है which can be replicated. You need to understand, so before scalability comes a concept called replicability. आप स्केल अप
Right.
करते हो जब आप चीज को आपको पता है कि मैं एक चीज को मैं 10 बार रिपीट कर सकता हूँ. You understand.
Hmm.
So
Right.
I understood that this is a format. If I'm able to train this to my staff, and I can tell them
Hmm.
कि कि अगर अगर आपकी एमयूएन शुरू होने वाली है तो ब्रेकफास्ट का ये टाइम है, इसके आधे घंटे पहले सब कुछ तैयार होना चाहिए. Likewise,
Right.
the lunch has to be at
The
this
lunch
particular
has to be
time,
at this
and it
time.
has to be
Right.
delegation wise. So we used to give that disclaimer to the teacher. We used to
Right.
give them that kind of comfort, that boss come what may, we understand that business really well. You understand? तो इससे
Right.
क्या हुआ
Right. Right.
कि वी फाउंड अ नीश वाज दैट द
Hmm.
पीरियोडिसिटी ऑफ दीज इवेंट्स वर मच मोर वर्सेस अदर इवेंट्स.
Hmm.
अब यार फ्रेशर स्टार्टिंग में होएगा, या वो जो जो फेयरवेल एंड में होएगा साल के. बट व्हाट अबाउट द मिडिल?
Hmm.
सो एमयूएन वाज समथिंग व्हिच वाज हैपनिंग ऑल अक्रॉस द ईयर. सो पीरियोडिसिटी ऑफ द इवेंट. सेकंड इज दिस द
Right.
रिपीटेबिलिटी ऑफ दैट इवेंट. कि भाई पहली बार मैंने देख ली कितनी बार ये इवेंट हो रहा है, दूसरी बार मैंने देखी कि ये कितनी बार ये इवेंट रिपीट होता है. ठीक है. एंड थर्ड इज दैट ये इवेंट कितना स्केलेबल है. स्केलेबल से मेरा मतलब क्या है, दैट इज इट पॉसिबल, that I can execute this event at multiple geographies. Now initially that would have been only Delhi. So, for example, Delhi,
Hmm.
I would say a North Delhi market, North Delhi school is very different from a Ghaziabad school. And same
Hmm.
goes
Hmm,
for,
hmm.
for a South Delhi school compared to Gurgaon school. They're very, very different palette, very
Right.
different styles. So,
Right.
uh, in fact, we had done a very interesting MUN at Chandigarh also multiple times. But coming back,
Okay.
like I said, so periodicity, repeatability, and scalability. जैसे ये तीन सेट हुई, we started focusing on that particular niche, and we started nailing it down. So this is something which is very
Hmm.
important. This is the same thing I would recommend with what happened with us in the sports league segment. We understood कि इनकी periodicity कितनी है. लाइक अगर पूरे साल में
Hmm.
अगर एक साल है, एक साल में सीजन शुरू होता है आईपीएल से, आईपीएल के बाद जाता है
हाँ जी.
कबड्डी पे, फिर जाता है towards an ISL, then it shifts to a PBL, then it shifts in between to then comes back to IPL. In between there's a Hockey India League, and there's a Ultimate Table Tennis, right? So saying that,
Right.
we saw the periodicity कि ये leagues का business पूरे साल रहेगा. Second, repeatability.
Hmm.
It's the same format duplicated
Right.
into different formats. And third, the scalability. That what I'm doing in Delhi today can easily be replicated across, say, a Hyderabad, a Bengal, like a Calcutta, a Guwahati, and so on and so forth. So these are the three
Right.
elements. So coming back to your question, in those 6 months, I was doing everything which was coming my way. And let me tell you, I was
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
getting a
Hmm.
lot of work. I was actually, like I said, I was literally scouting for work, but the only thing I was doing was doing hardcore aggressive sales calls. ये एक ऐसी चीज है जो
Okay.
लोग मानते नहीं है. In
हाँ.
a B2B business, you have to be,
हाँ.
or forget B2B business, any business for that matter, you have to be
Right.
a hustler. You need to do multiple cold calls. If someone does not reply to you, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है यार. But at least keep calling 20 people. The odds and the law of averages is such कि 20 में से एक convert होएगा या एक meeting देगा. you know and that is
Right.
what my first 6 months was about. And once those
Hmm.
6 months, through the 6 months, I was able to figure out a niche. It was not simpler after that also. After finding that segment, I understood that, if hypothetically in a weekend, like you rightly mentioned, 4 से 5
Right.
events हो रहे हैं, I can cater for
Hmm.
only two of them or three of them.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
in that, how do I decipher that who are the, out of these 4 5 MUNs, what two MUNs can I actually close? I will pitch to all five of them irrespective. But at the end of it, I
Right.
want to be in that controlling position. Ki what
Hmm.
MUNs I want to pick up, right? You know,
Right.
and then
Right. Right.
I would tell you, उसके बाद भी ऐसा नहीं प्रोसेस खत्म होता है कि आपको नीश मिल गया. You always want to
Right.
grow your business, right? So that is when you start finding other opportunities. Ki when your business is sustainable, say hypothetically you're doing 10 lakhs or 15 lakhs revenue per month, that is when you start
Hmm.
shifting over and you start thinking ki yaar, what can I do to actually scale this business, to like a 30 lakh, 35, 40 lakh rupee business, I mean,
Hmm.
and then likewise you build a 70 to 80% incremental kind of a business year on year basis पे. तो उसके लिए फिर आपका दिमाग अलग
Right.
चलता है कि यार, what all new segments I can get my business into. So like I said, those 6 months, it's on you to either like I think I mean, it's very important, like in nowadays to chalo, I think everyone is down, so it's this is the time for content curation. So I'm seeing a lot of
Right.
lot of people are coming up with content around their businesses and so on and so forth. So like I said,
Hmm.
even in the last 2 months, we could have said that, we don't have any business, what should we do? And this is the worst time. Why? Because it's not that we don't want to do business. There's no business in the market, and C and B, the government does not, won't let you do it, right? But still,
Right.
we are dedicating time this time to build content and to actually come up with some tangible, say, deliverables to actually, build a legacy for our business. In terms of the fact कि यार हमने हमने कुछ, अगर हमारा लॉकडाउन भी था, हमने उसमें कुछ एक अच्छा है, एक डिजिटल प्रोडक्ट बनाया है, या तो फिर we've come up with an intellectual property of sorts, which can
Hmm.
again,
Hmm.
augment the growth of a business in times to come. So that's how, we've been thinking. So like I said,
That's
I've given you a very
nice.
very long answer to this. I'm so sorry, but
No. No. No worries. No
but the
worries.
whole idea has been what, that, there's no set answer for this. It's a evolutionary process. So keep evolving, Keep finding new ways. That's the only way out. Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. I get it. I mean, with this question, you not only answered the those 6 months, but you answered what you're trying to do during these months also,
Absolutely. I
which
mean,
is
no, because my point is, people think about 6 महीने हो गए, 6 महीने के बाद यार अब तो ये करता है, अब तक तो 6 महीने में तो मुझे मेरी नीश मिल जानी चाहिए थी. अब वो जो 6 महीने मेरे लिए
hmm,
था, वो आपके लिए 3 महीने हो सकता है, या आपके लिए वो 3 साल हो
hmm,
सकता है, But my only point is like,
right.
and when I say 3 साल, this is where I would like to even mention one more very important aspect. One,
Sure.
one for the one for the pocket, one for the heart. One for the pocket, one for the heart. Or the other way of putting it is one for the pocket, one for the soul. That no
Right.
matter whatever effort you're doing in, साथ में कुछ ना कुछ एक side hustle रखो, which something I
Hmm,
didn't really explore at that particular point in time, but keep monetizing
hmm,
and get the money coming in from somewhere or the other. Otherwise, those 3 years, will be like, you don't want to come out of those 3 years, not with anything at all, right? तो कुछ भी करते रहो,
right.
whether you are in a full time job, whether you are just starting out. I mean, if you're building a product, then the product has
Hmm,
to be augmented by say a consulting business. कि वहां से कुछ ना
hmm,
कुछ तो आ
hmm,
रहा है
hmm.
at least. But it cannot be
Right.
completely foolproof of zero revenues irrespective. 6 months zero revenue understood. 3 years zero revenue is not understood. You know what I mean,
Not
right?
understood.
That's
Right,
what I mean.
right. I perfectly understand that. No, that is great, and I really agree with you on this point that we need to keep doing something to find that niche. And talking to you on this point and has actually given me an insight and a very good answer to what we can help the students who are like literally passing out from their 12th right now, and they're trying to find out what they can do. And honestly, if I tell you, like with me, what happens when someone from the family side or from anyone who comes up from the 12th and asks me like, what should I do? Should I do engineering? Should I do this or that? I'm like, take a year off and try finding out what you like. But after today, probably I'll be able to answer them. Just do any damn thing, but just
Absolutely.
keep doing so that you can find the niche. So I've just got a betterment to my answer, which I can give, because at the end, that knowledge is something you can have, but if you're gonna go into business,
Mm,
you need to just be there. Like, and
absolutely.
you already mentioned, like, you also understood that the culinary skill set didn't really actually help you, but it was the execution of the business that helped you. So yes,
Absolutely.
I have got some really good answers.
Mm,
With that said, there's this one thing that you mentioned to, that you have never seen yourself as a regular catering company, but you have positioned yourself as an event hospitality solutions provider,
yep.
right?
Yep.
So दिस इज लाइक अगर मैं बहुत सीधी भाषा में बोलूं, आप सेम चीज को एक दूसरी पिक्चर से दिखा रहे हो, राइट?
Absolutely.
एट द एंड, इफ फॉर अ लेमैन इट वुड बी लाइक कि मुझे खाना मिल रहा है, दैट्स इट। आई एम
Yep.
गोइंग एट
Absolutely.
व्हाटसोएवर इवेंट, बी इट
Absolutely.
हाइफा, बी इट, मुझे खाना मिल रहा है, ठीक है।
Yep.
बट एज अ बिजनेस यू हैव पोजिशनड योरसेल्फ एज अ डिफरेंट लीग ऑल टुगेदर,
Mm.
बिकॉज ऑफ विच आई कैन डेफिनेटली से दैट यू हैव बीन एबल टू चर्न आउट गुड अमाउंट्स ऑफ रेवेन्यू,
You know,
राइट?
uh, I think that's a very good question. I would say it's a question or a remark. I don't know,
No, no.
but
See, I'm coming to the question actually here only.
yeah,
The question is that because of this positioning, I would say
yeah,
that you have actually generated revenue. But what was the struggle behind this positioning? Because when you start positioning yourself this way, it's like बहुत सारे लोगों ने आपको डेफिनेटली बोला होगा, यार एट दिन तो खाना दे रहे हो ना, तो
mm,
खाने का इतना प्राइस क्यों? या व्हाट,
uh,
या फिर जो तुम्हारा फैंसी नाम है,
mm,
लाइक इवेंट हॉस्पिटैलिटी सोल्यूशन प्रोवाइडर,
yeah,
हाउ इज दिस डिफरेंट? So why are you different? What is your USP? And many might would have even said a no to you. They might have
absolutely,
even not listened to you,
absolutely,
right? So what
absolutely.
I want to know about this experience of positioning yourself, because there are many people who are trying to do something different but वो नहीं कर पाते हैं, well, for the very same thing.
Yeah,
So probably when you answer this question of positioning, I guess we'll be answering a lot of questions out there.
agreed, agreed. There's this very important aspect of building the key differentiators of your business, which is
Hmm.
which is a question every business needs to answer themselves or to their stakeholders. Now,
Right.
I think when I was reaching out to the market, one of the major questions I used to be getting is, yeah, like you rightly mentioned, how are you different, boss? कि दिन में तो end में खाना ही
Hmm.
है, खाने में I remember this large event manager, I don't want to name him. He said
हम्म
खाने में थोड़ा सोना डाल दोगे कि सोने सोने से खाना महंगा हो जाएगा, you know. तो मैंने,
right.
you know, I didn't know what you know what to say to him, but you know, I mean, like I said, you know, positioning is never built by communication, I think. You know,
Hmm.
verbal communication, I think, you know, it is part of
Hmm.
it, but I think it is the positioning is built by an integrated communication approach. Integrated communication
Hmm.
approach is basically ki, yaar, you know, I mean, I'll give you an example.
Sure.
So for someone like a larger, you know, IPL franchisee, you know, you know, they could have easily considered us like a, you know, like just a thali service or a box service provider company, you know. but
Definitely. Right.
but it is through our approach of how we present and how we handle ourselves in front of the
Hmm.
client, which
Hmm.
gives him a very good clarity in terms of what is their backend capability like. Now it is a very
Right.
important and a good insight for, you know, which will be a good insight for you also, is nobody will come and check your kitchen. You need to understand that nobody will come and check your office. In a
Hmm.
business, you know, people you know, you're running and, you know, running and talking and walking business, right? So if,
Right.
if you keep your positioning right, you know, the overall perspective the client gets is very different, you know. And
Hmm.
like I said, when I say integrated communication approach, so one is about
Hmm.
you personally, second is about you socially on your social
Hmm.
media handles, and third is
Hmm.
basically by what the other stakeholders say about you, which is your
Right.
A, your vendors, B, your other clients, and C, people in
Hmm.
the common circle, you know. So
Right.
when you are positioning yourself, like if I just tell you today that, you know, we're
Hmm.
a full service Indian, you know, Indian food catering company, you know, or multi cuisine catering company, like what the world says, and
Right.
are present in say these cities and so on and so forth, you know,
Huh.
the positioning goes in is he's just another caterer. But when you
Right.
approach people and when you tell them, I'm, you know, we're an event hospitality expert, the first point is that
Right.
there's no such term as event hospitality. We have created that
Huh.
term, you know, and
Huh.
that is where the perception goes in the market that you are curators rather than being
Huh.
followers in the market. and
Huh. Huh.
and
Huh.
it might be a very different scene. Maybe our company size would be like, you know, I mean, say you know, like 5% of what an IPO company would be like. But saying that,
Hmm.
you know, we are being able to compete with them is because we give a larger positioning. You know, as a business, always give a larger positioning to your stakeholders, because that
Hmm.
shows that your vision is big. And
Right.
something I used to ask my client a lot of times, and I would
Hmm.
not like to name that client. I've mentioned him multiple times in this conversation, but
No worries.
you know, he said a beautiful thing that boss, one comfort I always had with you is that you are entrepreneurial in your approach, and the
Right.
best part about an entrepreneurial approach is that you'll figure it out. Now, when I give you
Right.
an opportunity, say in a Lucknow, to when I give it to you at a stadium, you know, my only
Hmm.
perception is that I have an opportunity between choosing someone who comes to an RFP versus someone I
Right.
know personally, and that
Hanji.
that that positioning has to be in a manner that I know that your background would be so solid that you're being able to deliver all of these things, right? So
Hanji.
positioning through all your channels, and B, through your conduct, is
Hmm.
something which you know, which really distinguishes you from the market, and in itself can also give you the differentiator. तो जब भी कोई बंदा शुरू करता है ना business, तो
Huh.
in the initial days only, you know, I you know, I had this habit of basically building trends. Trends is basically,
Hanji.
like I told you, when we went to the MUN space, I used to position myself
Hmm.
as a leading you know, I mean, hospitality solutions provider focused on
Hmm.
curating memorable conference catering experiences, you know. Soon I shifted to, you know, the sports catering segment, you know, being a one stop solution for all catering hospitality solutions need for a stadium, you know. And then, you know, we
Hmm.
moved on to the food court aspect and the crew catering. That is when we created the term called event hospitality experts. So वो जो
Right.
differentiator से बनते हैं ना, you
Hmm.
always see your market, how it is evolving, and then you keep changing it. But like I said, always position yourself larger than life. If you position yourself as just another service provider, you'll face these
Hmm.
problems, problem of trying to explain everyone about who you are and where you come from. But when you position yourself
Hmm.
as someone different, I think sky's the limit, irrespective. And like I said, the most important aspect which I think a lot of people face when they're starting up is that they always consider, like, I'll give you an example of someone, so, I mean, I don't want to take examples, but, any business for that matter, they always think, when they're starting up, ki, I don't have a very
Hmm.
good, very beautiful office, or I don't have a very good infrastructure
Right.
in place. I don't have the requisite
Uh,
media coverage in place. Let me tell you,
uh,
the person whom you're meeting does not care. He just cares about you. I know, say 50 people in my network, who would not be having
hmm.
offices at the back. And I'm talking about the large ass people. I'm talking about people whom you'd be following and who'll be having, say, 100K followers on Instagram, and they don't even have an
Okay.
office of their own. What they have is a portfolio and their brain working for them,
Uh,
right? So build your
right.
portfolio of services and your work, what you've done in the past, and position yourself differently. Don't invest just to please other people, because people are just concerned about what is the value you bring on the table. So that's it. That's
Right.
that's pretty much about it. Yeah.
That's nice. That's really really nice. I mean, there's a good insight for this thing for positioning, and I guess this is very different from what I have had right now. So yes, thank you so much for this insight,
No
Manvir.
problem. No problem.
Okay, so I have this question. Like we already talked about the fuck ups that have happened, and you already gave us an example that your company has gone through.
Hmm.
But with that already in place, I want to know that if there has been any major failure in your complete entrepreneurial journey, which has taught you a very huge ass lesson, and something different, which has like just changed you top to bottom. If there's something like that, please tell us.
I mean, one thing I've just learned, of late is the power of humility. That is I mean, one of the most important aspects, I think, are of critical importance. I think one of the things we personally, I mean, I have seen across my journey of building this business is that there are
Hmm.
absolute highs and there are absolute lows. there's no
Hmm.
there is no uh, say equilibrium per se, if I mean, for a lack of a better word. because
Right.
I mean, when you're doing good, you think that you can really scale this up to a next level. But at the same time, and that's when you become very very bullish with respect to your overall business, and you start
Hmm.
making investments into multiple businesses. You start extending massive credits and so on and so forth. But I think
Hmm.
if you're humble and if you stay grounded, you understand that the fundamentals of doing business is very, is the very basic facts what I was just discussing about. A,
Right.
you know, have knowledge about your trade. B, know how to deliver it. And C, know how to take out the payment. That's it. These are three aspects. The fourth point is basically, which will come back as a byproduct, to you in terms of the feedback and everything else. But these first 3 points, you're able to look into, should be of great help. Coming back to the failures bit, there have been multiple, and I would say umpteen failures. I mean, probably, I think every client. So like I mentioned, the first thing,
Hmm.
the first sections of uh, you know uh, of my conversation with you was about every event or an engagement is bound to have some of the other fuck ups. There are some fuck ups, which which someone can, probably, uh, can know about and still not say anything about it. And second, someone can actually make a big issue out of that. So
Hmm.
I always tell, and something I keep mentioning a lot of times to my team, that the
Hmm.
worst thing you
Hmm.
can do as a service provider is to have a disappointed client. And
Hmm.
the second worst thing you can do is that you don't put in the effort to satisfy the
Right.
disappointed client at
Right.
that particular event. Post event, you can do whatever, you can waive off the commercial, whatever. But if because there are some factors which are within your control, or some factors which are not within your control. So if you're not able
Hmm.
to take the right, you're not able to take to the right steps to to actually give the client comfort that you care more than anything else.
Right.
So
Right.
you're not supposed to be in business. So yeah, these 2 points pretty much. Failures, I don't, like I said, there are dime a dozen. So we need an entire podcast for this to probably discuss on that bit. Like I said, yeah.
Okay. 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 I get it. So, Manu, this podcast has been really insightful while talking to you in terms of the F&B business that you're into,
Hmm.
and you've given me some different insights from what I have had till now.
Hmm.
That's and I really want to thank you for that.
Hmm.
With that said, Manvi, you've been talking about that you're coming out with your book. So why don't you tell us something about your book that you're coming up with? What is it about, and when can we expect that book to come out? And something more about it.
So glad that you touched upon that point. That's, like I said, we've been trying to leverage the post COVID days by
Right.
building a very unique insight. And like you mentioned about the book, the book has been pretty much, and you know has been a result of, and I'll tell you the story behind it. It's been a result
Sure, please.
of my conversation with a very senior learning and development professional out of a large skill development corporation, wherein which we were just discussing about the fact that how the entire industry would be wiped out, and there are so many jobs being lost in the hospitality sector, specifically the hotels, of course,
Mm-hmm.
catering companies, restaurants. In fact, my cloud kitchen brands have been closed since like over what,
Okay.
like 2 months, and we don't want to open it right now also because the cost of operating them is higher than the number of orders which are coming in, because people have this unique fear about food, which I don't understand, because food is absolutely safe. There's been no scientific evidence that food can cause transmission. But coming back, that we were just evaluating, and I was just telling them that what do you do about this vast expanse, or and the second highest employer in this country, which is the hospitality sector. What is it
Mm-hmm.
that they can do to start the next innings? We've been very fortunate to build a relatively decent business, so we have the kind of accruals and the cash reserves to sustain through this time. But what about those
Mm-hmm.
people who've just lost their jobs? And that is when I happened to write this book called Catering Your Way to Financial Independence, which is basically a step-by-step guide of
Mm-hmm.
helping someone build his or her catering business, without any prior background in the hospitality industry. So in fact, one of the major myths we're trying to bust in that in that book is that you don't have to be a chef or a hotel management professional to actually run and operate a catering business. And that was the overall premise. And then we've dedicated a chapter towards a lot of restaurants also, because I was just recently doing a webinar with for a restaurant community, organized by a chamber. And we were just discussing about, and I was seeing a lot of queries coming up about existing restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
who have no revenues coming in, much like ours,
Mm-hmm.
and who
Right.
are looking for creative options to basically augment their sales. So we have a chapter
Right.
specifically dedicated towards how someone can quadruple their profits and sales by leveraging this niche category of catering, which a lot of restaurants have never even thought about. And yeah,
Right.
so like I said, one is about helping and giving people the insight about a a self-employed career option which they never knew they had, which can be very rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
At least it has been very rewarding to me. And second is to
Mm-hmm.
basically help and enable restaurant owners to leverage their existing kitchen facilities to start a catering practice uh, within their particular business. So yeah, two-pronged approach, and the book should be out within the next couple of days. Hopefully by the 20th of June we should be able to launch it, and the hard paperback should be launched in another week, 10 days from now. Yeah,
Wow, that's great. And I'm hoping by the time this podcast is also out, your book would be out. And in
absolutely,
that case, we can, get something for the listeners also for
absolutely,
for
absolutely.
them that they can, or get your books
More, more,
and
more, more
get
than
an
happy. More than
insight.
happy. Probably, I mean, what I'll do is that I'll just speak to my, I mean, speak internally, and probably, if we have like a coupon or something, we'll just share that with your listeners, and we'll be more than happy to contribute. Like
Definitely,
I said,
definitely
this is
handle.
the time to explore new career options, and there can't be a better business than exploring something in the catering industry. It might A lot of
Hmm.
people tell me that I'm trying to build competition for myself, and like I said,
Hmm.
in any B2B business, and that's the last thought, probably, what I can think of is that
Hmm.
there is absolutely no competition. The
Hmm.
the premise, or the except I said in the middle,
Hmm.
of my conversation with you, was that you don't need 10 clients to run a catering business. You need one client who gives you
Hmm.
10 who gives you 10 events in a year. You understand? And that is what
Right.
that is what is the premise of the book, that everyone has their networks, everyone has their sources in place. Why not explore something which can give you better advantage over
Hmm.
your peers? Because, let me tell you, be it 6 months, be
Hmm.
it a year, I don't see things getting normal. But yes, there is, the new normal is to basically find your micro niche, and try to leverage
Right.
and build a new self career options. And I'm on the mission of helping over 1 lakh uh, people explore a new self-employed career option, especially in the catering or F&B services businesses. So yeah, that's pretty much
That
about
is where being an entrepreneur, like others and like many entrepreneurs does, your bigger motive comes out, and that is where you're trying to help other people get a better life. And on the very same thing that you said, where you're getting comments where people are telling you that you're building competition for yourself.
it.
I don't know if you listen to Gary Vee or not, but quite some time I've been listening to him this year only.
Mm.
And there was this episode which I recently listened where he was like, "Ki, he people continuously tell him that you keep giving out advices for free on the public speaking platforms and everywhere and anywhere, and then there are people who take those advice, implement them, make money in six figures, seven figures, come back to him, tell him that we have your client, and then he's like, fuck. But the next
Uh,
moment Gary Vee is like, "Ki, it's okay, I'm still the bigger man because I can think of new ways to get new business."
Absolutely,
you
absolutely,
are you are dwelling on what I gave you, means
absolutely.
I can still think of something, and that is what you have done. So definitely you have your brains, and which has been working, and the results are already out there.
Mm.
So you can definitely generate something better and bigger in the catering business itself.
Yeah,
There's no doubt about it. With
absolutely.
that said, you have already given so many tips. I don't think so that there's any tips I can actually ask you to
Mm.
give to our listeners.
Mm.
But if you have something, would you like to give them some tips, final tips,
You
your
know,
mantra?
when we say mantra, I think mantras are a sham, essentially. It's like I always say, you know,
So
you know,
what did you say for an entrepreneur then? What should he do in your opinion? If not
so
the
like
mantra,
I
at least,
said, don't
right?
go, don't go, don't go by mantras.
Ha,
It's actually, like what is the baseline of this podcast, Dhandoni Soch, right? So
right,
so
right.
it's pretty much on those lines, that, boss, It's all about execution. It's all about massive execution. Let's, even though there's not much to do at in current times, it is one of the
Hmm.
best times to invest in your personal learning, and
Hmm.
in in probably executing and finding your area of passion, which can be monetized in some or the other way. And like I
Right.
said, one of the best opportunities right now which the data age has given us is the power of content, and the power of exploring new self-employed career options, which was not with us. So like I
Right.
said, let's not, I would say, go by, don't go by mantras, but go by quotes.
Hmm.
And, they can be a mantra essentially to keep you motivated, but there's no as such
Hmm.
mantra to success in business. It's all about you executing, you failing, you learning, you unlearning, and then again, becoming victorious in the process, and
Hmm.
then overall understanding that the victory is short lived, and then slogging your ass off to come back to the new normal. So that's the whole process of evolution, the way I can put it.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. On the quote note, if you remember, what is your favorite quote, and you would like to, if you can tell us
you
that
know
you follow.
I've been reading a lot of quotes. I mean, I've been reading a lot of quotes of late. So I'll just share a
Right.
quote. So I'm absolutely very passionate about sales. In actuality, that's something I really follow irrespective. And so have you heard of you know this is quote called, our greatest fears are not that we are insufficient, incapable. Our greatest fears are that we are powerful beyond imagination. It's not our darkness, but our light which we are most afraid of. That's it. I mean, if you're able to go through
Ah,
this line and keep reiterating to this every day and have those positive affirmations, I think
right.
you're pretty much sorted. That's what I can say.
Well, that's really great one. That's a great one. Oh my God. So this has been a really, really insightful journey with you, Manvir, and we have got lots and lots of learnings which we can go by in terms of execution, be it in F&B industry. But what I really appreciate and like is that we have got something from the F&B industry which can actually be applied in several other industries.
Hmm.
And this is where I can actually quote my show's tagline that धंधे की सोच आप कहीं से भी उठा सकते हो.
Hmm.
And the inspiration could be anywhere from every industry. It's just that you need to see it. And just the way, then I'll quote something from your experience that listeners, the way Manveer has taken the chance and grabbed all those opportunities and dwelled around them, I guess that is where you start working things around. And you just, and the last tip that he gave, learn, unlearn, and then do it again. That's it. So thank you so much, Manveer, for
Just
coming on the show, and it was a pleasure talking to you here.
likewise, Sarthak, likewise.
And thank you so very much. And as soon as this thing, and I'm definitely meeting you.
Absolutely, looking forward, looking forward. Yeah,
Thank you. Same
great,
here,
great.
Manveer. Bye
Thanks,
bye.
thanks, Sarthak. Cheers. See you. Bye.
Cheers. Bye. I hope that you're able to take back something insightful from this podcast and apply it in your life to be a better version of yourself and add to your Dhandoni Soch. If you know someone whom you think should feature on my podcast and has a very inspiring entrepreneurial journey, then do drop me a DM on my Instagram, SarthakVarshhney. Sarthak Varshne. Yeah, that's me. I'm the founder of SV Clicks, and SV Clicks is the producer of this show. You can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn as well with the same name. If you're willing to listen to more of such unheard, inspiring stories of the entrepreneurs, then don't forget to follow us by pressing that follow button on your podcast screen. Thank you for being such an amazing audience. Keep learning, keep growing. We'll be back soon. See ya.